Hey everybody, I decided to do a little something new, very similar to the ghost and paranormal story submissions that you guys have sent me. This video in particular, I'm going to share some of your story submissions that actually are more geared towards UFO and alien encounters or experiences. This next story is also from someone who is anonymous. So we were backcountry hiking way up in the Canadian Rocky Mountains back in the summer of 2010. Hundreds of miles away from any town. We were completely isolated. It was around 11 p.m. Me and my husband were laying in the tent staring at the stars and talking. I had been following what I thought was an airplane until I realized there wasn't a single flashing light on it. In fact, the lights were a very bright hue of pink that went down in a line, much like plane windows would, except they were on a slight slant. I asked my husband what he thought it was, and he had no explanation. At that point, we were both watching the craft move along in silence and then stop mid-air. I will never forget the chill I got when it did that. It stayed in the exact same position near a large hill, next to the valley where we were set up in. I would guess about 5 miles away. I don't know how much time passed, maybe a half an hour, when the aircraft slowly started to descend and went behind the hill. At that point, I practically shit my pants and was petrified aliens were coming for us, but to the best of my knowledge, we had no such encounter. I've said it over and over. I would have rather seen a grizzly bear that night. This next story comes from Jacob, located in Norway. In the summer of 2014, Mother and I did our regular visit to a lake in a town close by. I was really looking forward to this visit to the lake, as I have always been, because of my negativity towards the seas. We approached the lake and it was full as I anticipated. I was convinced that we would be able to find a place to settle down, which we did. The water was cold and it took a while for me to get out into the water. The beach was mostly full of people sunbathing and sleeping, so the water was certainly available. I started swimming further out into the lake and looked around, enjoying the weather and the water. As I was swimming further out into the lake, I noticed something familiar. Now, the lake was surrounded by mountains and forests for miles and miles. A huge shining aluminum, long, cigar-shaped hovercraft of some sorts slowly slid toward a mountaintop in a totally straight line. No sudden movements. I watched as the UFO disappeared behind the mountains. This next story comes from Alicia, and this event happened at Lake Macquarie, which is about 5 hours from where she lives. A few years ago, only a couple of years before my time, and I'm 15, Dad was out in his boat with his best mate. They were coming back from fishing and it was almost dark. I don't know why, but it's the eeriest hour in my opinion, when they both noticed this giant ball of light hovering behind them. He said it was massive, about 50 meters away. There was no explanation for it to be there. There was no other boats or people around. It wasn't one of those electrical towers or anything like that. There's nothing underneath it or around it. Completely unexplainable. He reckons it was scoping them out, in his words. It's obviously a bit difficult for him to remember every detail since it happened quite a while ago. But he's pretty skeptical, and for him to recognize this as eerie and alien-like means that it definitely was something. The light went away. He can't remember how, but he said it didn't just zoom off. I even rung up the guy that was with him, and he confirmed that it to be true, but had no explanation for it. Once again, Dad would not jump to the conclusion of aliens because he is skeptical, but it is said that it freaked him out and he called it a UFO. This next story comes from someone who would like to remain anonymous. We have lived in the same small coal mining town in the foothills of the Appalachians for many, many generations, and we are not the first family to see unusual things in or around these mountains. Since my great-grandmother was little, she would sit on the front porch with her family, and this was circa 1920, prior to TVA electricity in the area. She would watch lights dart around on the mountain. When my father was little, he also would sit with her and watch these lights. Time went on, and my father would often go riding on the mountain with a few friends. On a routine Saturday night excursion, they were riding around and Dad decided he needed a bathroom break. They pull over and he proceeds to do his thing when his ears start ringing and he feels the kind of pressure you would feel when you're deep underwater. He decides it can wait and hops back in the car. His friends are all looking at the light off in the distance that was the opposite direction that he was facing previously. They all have a really bad feeling about it, deciding something was just not right. They floor it down the mountain, but all the way down they see the light moving at a consistent speed alongside them, but off in the distance. They didn't stop for anything all the way home. None of the guys will discuss it to this day, and all but my dad have passed since, so the story died with them. This next story comes from Ashland, located in New Baltimore. Last year it was Labor Day weekend, and my sister, aunt, and uncle and I were at our cottage. It was late, and me and my aunt were the only ones up. We were in the backyard having a bonfire when we heard a strange noise that sounded like it was above us. When we looked up and saw flashing lights that appeared to be in order in a perfect circle. No one believed us when we told them. Once I had gotten home, I researched alien experiences, and what I found scared me so badly that most encounters occurred in Michigan near the Great Lakes. Our cottage was on Lake Huron. This next story comes from Mike, located in Cedar Park, Texas. It was early December of 2010 where this encounter happened. I awoke around early 2 in the morning due to hearing noises outside my bedroom window. Knowing we have cats outside, I just left it and decided to try and rest. After the next 10 minutes, the noises wouldn't stop, so I decided to look out my bedroom window, only to find the street light pole lit. I decided to keep watch for the next 5 minutes to see if I could hear or at least witness something after that 5 minutes. I was about to give up when out of nowhere this large-sized red orb appeared hovering over the neighbor's house across the street. I watched this object for the following 20 minutes, just hovering in plain sight. The object looked triangular in size. From what I recall, I could see 4 bright white lights underneath the craft, and a giant red-looking light seemed to be built through the craft. I decided to take my binoculars and take a peek. What I witnessed next was by far the most horrifying, which led me to no sleep for the past week. Trying to get a good view, I happened to spot a circular-shaped window. It looked almost like an operating room. All you could see was white walls. Suddenly, this human-shaped figure appeared, and its head I could hardly make out, but it seemed oval with black eyes. To this day, I have no clue what it was, but right after I saw it, the craft immediately took off with no sound. This next story comes from Laura, located in the United Kingdom. I was laying in bed one night, and it was around 2 a.m., and I heard a loud humming sound. The noise was low, and I had a sort of metallic drone sound to it. It was there for about 10 seconds. The noise was at a constant level of loudness. It didn't get quieter or loud. Then it suddenly stopped. I was too scared to look out of my window to see what it was. It couldn't have been a car because I can hear the cars faintly in the distance. Then, as it gets closer, I can hear them louder. I don't live anywhere near an airport, so planes don't fly low around here. I'm convinced it was a UFO. This next story comes from Ryan, located in Plymouth, Indiana. I was probably about 7 or 8. My mom and I were going into town, I think, for groceries. Well, on our way, driving up into the highway is a trailer park. For some reason, I look up above the trailer park and I see these 3 giant, almost capsule-shaped green lights. They're almost transparent. I have no idea what I'm even seeing. I'm freaking out, being so young and not knowing. I tell my mom, she pulls over, and we both look. What we see, these 3 green things, are hovering and then form a triangle pyramid shape. It was just out of this world. So this next story is from Albert, and they said, I captured a UFO in this video today. So let's check this video out and see.
I'm going to first show you the pictures I took, and I'm going to magnify, and then I'll show you the actual video footage. This was taken January 31st, 2015, under Mount Shasta.
I've been to Mount Shasta.
I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. Look at that. What is that? What is that? I took that today, people. Sorry about the bad video quality here. Under Mount Shasta today, 2015.
That's crazy.
January 30th.
I've totally been to Mount Shasta. I grew up just south of there in Redding, California. But I am very familiar with some of the myths, legends, and sightings of, UFO things, alien things going on in Mount Shasta. That could be saved for a whole nother video, just talking about the alien stuff in Mount Shasta. But okay, so here's the photographs. So you can see it down in this bottom corner, right? Okay, now let's look at the next picture. And here's this one. You can see that. So, I don't know, it looks to me like a very purpley, purple, I don't know, weird. Very strange. So that is it for this first episode of UFO alien encounters. If you have a UFO or alien experience of any sort and you would like to submit your story, please follow the directions down below in the description. I would love to read your story here on my channel. So thumbs this up if you like this. Let me know if we should continue this kind of a series. I know I'm more towards paranormal, but I guess UFOs and aliens are very not normal. So let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. Let me know what you also think of the stories shared in this video. I love you guys and I will talk to you later.